all of you guys. I'm so proud that you are here every single day for class and that you took the time to come here out of your personal time and do this class and do all the work that was required of it. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. And how fabulous that is. So we're going to go down the row here. We're going to tell you who's here and who they are and what they do, and then talk to you a little bit about interviewing afterwards. So let's do introductions. Donna, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Donna Shannon. I'm a professional career coach. And what that means is I help people escape the serial killers in the HR department. Oh. Of which we are many. So what that really means is I help people with things like resumes, interview coaching, LinkedIn profiles, really everything how to set up a job search strategy. I do have a book that I wrote called How to Get a Job Without Going Crazy. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, it's on Amazon and then it's also at the library too.
Oh, that's a tough one.
That's why I didn't say anything about myself first.
Yeah. I'm Jennifer Shannon, no relation.
No relation.
I'm the president of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Amy School, and I own an insurance agency.
I'm Joni Inman, and I am the Executive Director of the Jefferson County Business Education Alliance. I'm proud of all of you. Thanks.
And I'm Sean Kaiser. I run the Egg and I Restaurant at 80th and Sheridan. Most of you know me already. I'm also chairman of the board for the Jefferson County Business Education Alliance.
And I am Sharon Usher, a teacher here in Jeffco, in charge of the Executive High School Internship Program. And I can't believe this is the same group we just saw a couple days ago. You guys look awesome. Nice job.
Hi, I'm Kimmy Welch. I'm the president of the Arvada Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Brian Head. I'm co-owner of the Head Insurance Group, full-service independent insurance agency.
I'm Ranger Miller. I'm the lead singer for the Duke Street Kings.
And today's Ranger's birthday. Happy birthday!
29 again?
Yes.
Forever.
And a grandpa.
Grandpa.
Yes.
Brand new
Became a
grandpa.
grandpa
Just became
just before midnight last night.
Last night.
Doc, can I ask a question? Because we have two chamber presidents here. I want to know if you guys have any idea what a Chamber of Commerce is.
Jade does now.
Right? You guys can't.
I just think it's really important. They're so vital to our community that, I don't know,
love
Tammy,
you,
you want
right?
to take a second and explain them?
I would be glad to. So a Chamber of Commerce is, in the simplest terms, we're a support organization for businesses in our community. So we do a variety of different things, everything from marketing to networking, leadership development, government affairs, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our businesses are supported and have what they need to be successful going forward. We really consider ourselves to be a connector in the community, so we tell a business, if you have a need, call us and let us help you figure out how to solve that problem or that need.
So tell them a couple of your events, because I bet they know them.
Okay, so Stand in the City, did anybody go to? It's a sand sculpture competition. We have 10 giant sand sculptures. We had 17,000 people come through that event. We did taste.
I went.
Yes, thank you, Johnny. We're so
I
glad to
had
be there.
built sand sculptures
Yes.
at that.
It's a cool event. We do Taste of Arvada, so that's where we highlight a lot of our local restaurants. We have a big annual dinner. This year we're doing a Cops and Robbers theme, which should be really fun. We do a big awards luncheon. We do community breakfast. We do a State of the City address, which is really fun, and the mayor comes in and kind of addresses the city and tells everybody what's going on in the community, which is also a big part of being in a chamber, is just being engaged with your community and understanding all those amazing things that are happening. Arvada's a pretty cool place. You guys are lucky to be here.
Jennifer, you want to add anything? Sorry, I
No,
just thought it
no,
was
that's
important for
cool.
them to know.
Yeah, exactly. Her chamber's been around a lot longer than mine. But yeah, we have similar events in Westminster, and and I agree. I think the connecting part is a really big important thing. One of the things we strive to do is connect the city to the residents to the businesses, that whole dynamic, so that we feel more like one community. And I think that's a really important part of what a chamber does.
And they're a resource for people looking for jobs.
Yes.
So if you're ever looking for a specific job, go talk to your Chamber of Commerce. They may open a door for you.
How many of you have heard it's important to network? You've heard the word networking? Good, I'm getting nods from most, okay? That's adult networking. That's what the chamber does, find ways for people to get together and network.
Yeah, it's not connecting your router to your printer or anything.
So let's talk a little bit about what some of you guys look for in interviews. Or actually, before that, let's talk about how some of the great things you guys saw today out of our students.
I'll go first. I interviewed Maddie, right? You look, your face is on, maybe make that. She did a great job, by the way. Her appearance was great, as everybody's is. The job that we decided she was interviewing for, she came prepared for. So she did research on the company. She came prepared with the look that would fit into the company, right? And she told me why she really wanted this job and how it would connect her to her future aspirations. So she made the connection for me. So just really thoughtful coming into it. She wasn't nervous and I couldn't catch her up. I couldn't, I asked her a couple tough questions and I couldn't get her off her game. She did a great job because she was really prepared for it.
Good job. Good job, Matt.
Background on the company was really important.
Well, I'll tell you, I was impressed with Jade because she knows what she wants to do. The girl's got a plan, and I love that about her. Being really confident in knowing what she wants and how she's going to get there. So kudos to you. You did a great job today.
I interviewed Neil, and I thought it was great because at first he was very nervous, and he told me he's never interviewed before, and he was very nervous about it. And once you started talking and got to talk about yourself a little bit, you relaxed a little bit, and it just seemed a lot more comfortable. So that was good.
I did Alyssa, and we did some strengths and weaknesses, and one of the questions, the class she dislikes in school, but there was never any negative whatsoever, there were positives. They were areas that showed that she was a hard worker, to make sure that she's doing well in that class. We role-played a situation to her music ability, so that she was able to really kind of pull those strengths and use those in her interview, so.
Great job.
Well, I must say that Jessie did a really good job. I know you felt nervous, and you said that a few times, but one of the things that you did is I asked you behavioral interview questions, which are the ones where you have to think of a story. And you thought of a story or a situation, a real world activity for every single one of them. And you talked about all the components that are important with those answers. And a lot of the adults that come to me for coaching don't get that. They go into hypothetical situations, they don't tie it to reality, they don't have the end result. So the fact that you were doing that naturally was really good.
Yeah, I'm actually used to interviewing.
Yeah.
My older brother and my older sister, I used to, when they would want to do new jobs, they would ask me to interview them.
There you go.
Good job.
Well, I thought that, Anissa, sorry. I thought that she did a really good job, even though she doesn't have a lot of work experience, she has different things that she's done. She's volunteered, she's worked with her mom and some things like that. And she was good at taking those experiences and bringing them in and using them as a representative of how that, you could do a job or, different things, customer service experience, that kind of stuff. And I thought that was really good because sometimes it's tough when you have work to say, what experience you have, but I think you were good at pulling your real life experience into situations that would be good for a business situation.
Nice. Brady, you started out.
And, along those lines, just piggyback on what she was saying, she brought out a few really good things Anissa did, even though they were volunteer. She worked with money, she worked with customers, and she worked with other workers. Even though you may not have had a job in the past, those skills are very good. So if you're ever in a situation where you bring that out, those things are great to bring out, so nice job. And really, even though it's a volunteer position, it covers all the main bases that you're ever gonna face in a job where you're getting paid. So absolutely, those are the things you wanna look for, things that you've actually done and things that you've done well. Money, responsibility, showing up on time, all of those things are things to highlight about yourself, so nice job.
So I had a question for this.
You got one more.
I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
So we talked about just general appearance and confidence, a lot of eye contact. When I first came up, stood up, looked me straight in the eye and shook my hand. That's really, really impressive, especially because these kinds of situations can be intimidating. We also talked about key words, so he hit on problem solving and empathy, and he hit problem solving 3 questions in a row, just right, one after the other. And then empathy, he didn't necessarily use the word empathy, but gave perfect examples of that 3 questions in a row. So you walk away from the interview thinking, these are his 2 strengths, and this is what I'm looking for. So really impressed by that.
Good job, I'm so proud of you guys. They were so nervous, and thank you guys so much for taking that time out of your day to do this with them, because it was really hard for them, and you guys are the perfect people to do it. Perfect.
I'd like to know what kind of questions they have of us.
Yeah. Yes, Neil?
Were you embarrassed when you were first getting your job?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see, my first job interview, I was interviewing for a bus girl position at the old Heidelberg. It was a restaurant in Golden. And my friend worked there and told the manager how really fabulous I was, right? And she told me that right when we were going in. And I told him, you could do this, and you could do that, and you could do this. So I went into that interview thinking, how in the world am I gonna live up to everything she said, and how do I and by the way, how do you really know what your friend said? That's the other thing, right? So I liked her a lot, but, and she's still my friend, but I learned that you don't really trust what she tells you, she said. Right? So I was really nervous about that because I wasn't going in cold. I was going in with them having some expectation of what I was, and I didn't know what their expectation was. So yeah, I'm absolutely nervous, yeah. I doubt there was anybody here who wasn't nervous on their first job.
But what's awesome is you just had your first interview.
Yeah,
So that was
there you
easy,
go.
right?
I know what to expect.
Yeah.
Who wants to share, what was the toughest question you had to answer during the interview process? What was the most challenging question for you?
What your weaknesses are.
That's a great question, you'll run into that question also, how did you respond?
What was the question?
Weaknesses.
Oh, weakness.
I guess not being as nervous.
So when they asked you what your greatest weakness is, you said not being being nervous is your greatest weakness? Okay.
You know how you should always answer that in the future? I'm just too much of an overachiever.
Yeah.
My greatest weakness.
No, I tend to-
So
Too much, yeah.
I just care too much.
No.
Just telling you, man.
I can tell you when you get that question, what answer they're not looking for is cheesecake or tacos. But when somebody does ask
You'd hire them if they said that,
Like eggs, you're in.
yeah, but when an interviewer is asking what your greatest weakness is, what your opportunity is, they want to know that you have the ability to identify opportunities for you to do better, something that you can work at. So the best way to respond to that is say, well, I'm really working on this about myself. Whether it's being more confident or not being afraid of confrontation, and it's okay to be honest during the interview process. But when they ask you what your greatest weaknesses are, what you want to respond with is, well, I'm working on this about myself.
And I got
I
a
would
great answer
definitely
to
say
that one,
that.
because I asked him that, and he said that he didn't like to write, writing was bad, but then he said, I've learned that when I put my heart into it and really try to find something that I like about the subject or whatever, I do better. So that's a great example of, he identified the weakness, but then he identified, hey, I'm working on it, and this is one thing that I've done to improve this weakness, so.
And that's what the interviewer is looking for. What are you working on? Are you working on something new? Did you have another one that's a tough question for you?
Yes,
She pointed at me.
Yes. I think the toughest question for me was your last question, and I'm sorry I can't really think of it, but I think I interpreted it wrong. And I really didn't look into the question because it was the last question, and I had 2 minutes left to answer. And I feel like I just struggled on that one.
Yeah, I asked you, I said I have 3 or 4 applicants for this position. Why should I hire you for this position? And you said hire us all, basically, right? But that was the one I caught you up on, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
She didn't act like I caught her up on it, she like immediately answered.
So what kind of answer were you looking for in that particular?
I was looking for her to tell me that she felt she was the best person because she was familiar with the company, it fit into her career goals, she was friendly and knowledgeable about the product already and could step in so swiftly into the environment and into the, it was a retail position that for a store that really fits her career goals, so I was looking for that, right?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think when you're interviewing, when the person that's doing the interviewing, if they wanna hire you, it's gonna be because you're gonna make a difference, not because you're gonna fill a gap. They can just put a warm body in place, that's not what they're looking for. They want somebody that's gonna be able to step in and make a difference. It's okay for you to say, I think you should hire me because I'm the one that's gonna make a difference in your company.
I actually asked you what what are you gonna bring to my company? Yeah,
What other tough questions did you have?
or any questions for us?
Something that caught you off guard that you'd like to share with your friends, say, you know, like, oh, this was something I didn't expect. And you guys should all know that this would be a good question to prepare for. Anybody get you with the zinger?
How she brought in what you're really looking for. So she asked me, what kind of job are you looking for? And I'm gonna pretend to be that person that is really interviewing for. I think that's how I got really confident about it, because I was thinking like, okay, this is a chance for me to get practice for if I really get an interview for the real job.
Perfect.
Well, and I think that, you know, you particularly, the research behind the company is one of the ways where you can stand out from your competition. If you look at their online website and find out a little bit about who started it, when they were started, some of the things they do, because that's gonna impress them, and a lot of times people don't do that. Even older people don't think to do that, and that really makes a difference, because, you know, you sound more knowledgeable, you sound like you automatically are gonna fit in because you know so much about it, so.
Well, and
Yeah,
if you have the opportunity to actually visit that place, you had visited the place we were role playing. If you wanna apply at the Egg and I, go have breakfast or lunch at the Egg and I before you apply, right? So you're a little bit familiar with it.
Don't go for dinner though.
You know, nobody will be there. But that, immerse yourself in it a little bit so that you can say, you know, hey, I've been here,
This is
I
what I
enjoy
like about your
it.
particular business.
Yeah,
But knowing that they're only open for breakfast and lunch would be important.
yeah.
Johnny.
So,
Yeah, well, what I was gonna say is I've done a lot of recruiting over the years, both as a headhunter and as an HR person. That was my background before this. It is shocking the amount of people that I would say, how much do you know about our company, or did you look at our website? And they'll go, I looked at it when I applied, but I don't really remember much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that took it, so all week, so I've been interviewing to hire a couple of people for the last 2 weeks, so I've been using examples as I come in. My first question is, how did you prepare for this interview? Every time, how did you prepare? Do you know how one kid said to me? Not one kid, he's 35 years old. He said, I got a haircut and I ironed my suit. Really? That was your outside voice? That's what he said. He's 35 years old. That's not the answer. Always.
And researching the company does not mean just looking at the reviews, it's knowing, you know, some more depth about their company, about what their mission statement is, and understanding, you know, what their objectives and their goals are, and, you know, figuring out where you fit into that whole scheme of things.
I would throw on top of that too, before you go into the interview, if you Google interview questions, you're gonna get a lot of the questions we asked you guys today. I used to make myself a script, and you're not gonna take it in and read from a script, but have answers ready. What are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what do you bring to it, and come in with those ideas already in your head, so that when they ask that question, you don't have to think about it for a while. You'll already know that those are the things that you wanna answer them with. Because most of the time, you might get some zingers, but you're probably gonna get some pretty standard questions too.
Now, along those lines, if you really wanna stand out, you know, probably everybody here asked, do you have any questions for us, right?
We didn't get quite get to it.
And you should have, but,
Well, the very, we got kind of rushed.
And most candidates, when they go into interview, try to pull those questions off the top of their head, even if they've studied it ahead of time. What you need to do is you always bring a folder with a resume in it, right? So when they ask, do you have any questions for us? You can go, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. And you pull out your piece of paper and you read off 2 or 3 questions off your list. And people don't realize they can do this. You know, everybody I coach with, and they pay me a lot of money to work with me, are surprised and shocked that as candidates, they're allowed to pull out a list and ask questions. I'm like, hey, I have a full list of questions to ask you. Why is it not fair to do turnaround? And it sounds so much more professional and looks professional than trying to go,
What's in it for me?
Yeah, because that's where everybody, it
So,
starts to
what's in it for
default,
me?
you know, what are the benefits, what's the salary, what are the hours? Those are the simple things, you know? Put your questions on a piece of paper and bring them out.
And
I
I'm
did
the kind
have
of
the-
interviewee that when I've interviewed for jobs in the past, I always like to ask the tough questions to the person that's interviewing me. I want to be tougher on them than they were on me, because that'll really make you stand out also. And I'll tell you, I'm a pretty tough interviewer.
He is
so she doesn't let me
really,
talk to
really
kids
tough.
anymore.
Cammy, experience it.
No, I interviewed with this guy, he is like the stone cold face, it is the most intimidating thing you're ever gonna go through.
Right,
Who else
it'll-
do I work for though?
In all the people I've ever sat in
Then you
interviews
get to
with,
know him and
he's
you're
the
like,
No, he's a puppy, but in the interview for this, my job now, it was scary.
But being tough on that interview,
Yeah.
ask them tough questions. How would you describe your culture?
Who'd have thought?
I
You
know,
What does
right?
your ideal employee look like? What, ask them those questions that really make them think, that aren't those canned questions that you just get off the internet. And it has something to do with the depth of the company and what they're about and what their products are. And what are the challenges for your company right now? And where do you feel I can make the biggest impact? Another great question for you to ask, and you should always ask this, you might want to write this down, is at the end of the interview, ask them, is there any, do you have any reservations, or are there any, what's the word?
Do you have any concerns
concerns?
about me or my experience?
Yes. Are there any concerns that you have about me and my experience and how I might fit into your company? Why do you want to ask that question?
Jade and I talked a little bit too about the importance of asking questions too, because you wanna make sure it's a good fit for you personally. It's not as much, and it's equal, you know, if you fit in well, then it's a good fit. But if you're not happy with it, that's how you're gonna determine, is by asking the questions that are important to you and what you value, so it's important.
And if you ask that question at the end of it, it gives you an opportunity to hear what their objections may be as to offering you a position. You get another chance to kind of overcome those objections before the interview is over.
The other thing that, and Dot may have covered this already in one of the other classes, is maybe not in your first job if you're just going to McDonald's or Taco Bell, but as you get to more advanced jobs, there's almost always a job description that is published along with the job. Read that, make sure you know what you're going in there to apply for, so that if they ask you questions about the job that you will be taking, that's part of your preparation for it, and you do know what job you're taking. Dot's told me a couple funny stories about the interview she's done in the last couple weeks, where the people had no idea what job they're interviewing for.
Oh, yeah,
They have no
Yeah.
idea what job they're interviewing
it's
for.
shocking,
Don't walk into a job that you don't know what you're gonna do.
right. Somebody mass interview, and that's what some people are doing right now, if they've been out of work for a little while, is they mass resume, and the resume looks good, and they've got a lot of experience, so they come in for interview number 12 that week, and they have no idea what job it is they're interviewing for at all.
One guy asked her, he said, so what is this job?
Yeah, he goes, yeah, he said to me, he says, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that in the job description.
Did you cut it off?
Oh, yeah. I said it clearly, this isn't a job.
I did that, like a few years ago, obviously it's before I was coaching. But I was applying for a job at the Rockies, you know, the baseball team, and I thought I was being brought in for the office manager receptionist position, and we're like halfway through the interview, and they're like, okay, so you're available during game times. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of weird for the front desk. And they go, no, this is a customer service job. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, and also,
How fast your cut fastball is?
Something I shared
they may
with,
actually hire you.
something I shared with Maddie that I want to share with all of you, and I have my clients, I'm a business coach by trade, this is one of my gigs. I always have my clients do group interviews. So you could be walking into a situation where there are 3 or 4 applicants in the same room, right? And what we're looking for is to eliminate a couple of people during that situation. So don't be intimidated by that, but go into that and be friendly with the other applicants, be on time, be smiling, be happy, be a little chatty. If I could, for just 1 second, you've got a lot of experts here, not just on interviewing, but on business in general, and everything you learned about customer service and etiquette and resume writing and all kinds of things. We want to make sure that you can ask this group of people who are in the real work world any question that you want answered. It doesn't have to be about the interview. And thank you for the question that you had. Are there any other questions that you have of us? It is a great opportunity. When do you ever get 1, 2, 3, how many of us are there? You know, and we're at your disposal. You use us. You use us. Ask us anything. There you go. Here and then here.
This is actually for all of you, but what is the number one greatest thing that you're looking for when you're interviewing someone?
Attitude. Positive mental attitude. When I hire somebody, I hire for heart and for intelligence. Skills we can train. You can learn that in my business anyway. Not all businesses are like that, but I hire for the heart and the thought process and people that are, got something on the ball. If you're not very sharp, you're not going to fit into my organization. If you're not very positive, you're not going to fit into my organization. So the number one thing is attitude.
I look for somebody that's prepared. My first 3 questions are about being prepared, and if you're not prepared, I just went like that. I might give you the benefit of the doubt and get through the next few questions, but I already have made the decision not to hire you.
I look for fit. So one of my favorite questions is, what's your pet peeve in the office? And if it's something that I know is gonna go totally opposite of the culture, that's it. You could be the perfect candidate in everything else. Like, for example, we had one person, this is a biodiesel company I used to work for, hiring an office manager. Her pet peeve was foul language in the office. And our CEO's favorite word was the F-bomb. So, perfect candidate, not hireable.
I think being a self-starter is also something that's really important that I look for, is I wanna see some examples of how you've taken initiative on a project and taken it all the way through, especially in smaller organizations. That's a huge, huge thing that is important, so.
I'd say someone who's gonna, generally when I'm interviewing somebody to start at the very ground level. Somebody who's willing to come in and do the basic stuff and learn so that they can grow with the organization.
Professional presence. That probably doesn't surprise you since I just taught business etiquette. Arriving on time, looking good, self-confident, a nice handshake. I think you all did that? Okay. That's what I'm looking for, because I know if you have that self-confidence, you're gonna be able to learn.
Brian?
Thanks.
I tag on with Sean, would say just general attitude. If you remember 2 weeks ago when I was here, I said there's a lot of people out there that are not good at their job, or they just give half effort to their job. You're gonna be doing your job for a big part of your day. I mean, you're gonna be there, if it's a full-time job, you're there 8 hours of your day. That's a long time. So having that positive attitude, being a self-starter, being somebody that goes out and just goes the extra mile or looks for areas to contribute, those are kinds of things. If you could bring examples of where you've done that in the past, and part of it's being prepared, showing up prepared shows that you've taken that initiative and you have that attitude. That goes a long way.
So to wrap up,
No,
do you
wait,
guys?
you had a question?
Oh, yeah.
Also for all of you, don't you guys want workstations where it's like all over the globe or at one place?
Ranger works all over the globe.
Yeah. Like, would you guys like your workstations also like some other places? No, sometimes or not?
I work at my client's place of business most generally, or at coffee shops, or at schools, or everywhere. I'm out and about all the time.
I typically run one individual unit, but we have other units around town that I may visit from time to time also.
I'm definitely a have laptop with travel kind of person, but I also have 4 staff resume writers who work for me, including one in Dallas and one in New York. And I've spoken at national conferences in San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, Dallas, Orlando, just a couple places.
I have an office. I have an office because people have to be able to come to me when they need me, but I have the same thing. I'll take my laptop anywhere I need to go, so.
Yeah, I'm all over.
That's a valid question for you to ask yourself. I place 200 interns a year, and I think the big aha are mostly my engineers that realize they're working in a cubicle. And here's these guys making $150,000 a year and they work in a cubicle and right next to someone else. So that's the big aha environment check, and they aren't sure they can do that. You know, I have one that says it feels like I work in the closet. So if you need to see what works for you and what's important for you when you're thinking of what your career is. So there are lots of these where you don't have to be in that cubicle. Maybe that's the environment you like though. I'm coming here, I'm there every day, I know exactly what that looks like versus the, I'm out in the world and don't know what my day's gonna look like.
I think Ranger's got the smallest cubicle of everybody.
It's very
It's a great
small.
view though.
But the cup
Very
works,
small.
but it moves, but it goes all over.
It's a great view.
Well, and the other thing is, when you're interviewing for jobs, and it goes back to the you asking the questions, remember that just because they offer you the job doesn't mean you have to take it. If you go through the interview process and you think, wow, this is just not where I fit, you do not have to take it. You can say no, and it's okay.
Ranger's son just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he interviewed and he
Always
had a
have
great
that.
interview, and at the end,
You are the
and we
master
told
of
him when
your
he
own
prepared
course.
for it, we said, if this job is not for you, don't take it, because the last thing you wanna do is go to work for somebody.
And be miserable.
And he said at the very end, he's like, oh, this just isn't for me.
And
The other
that's
thing,
okay.
you don't wanna have your resume have like a bunch of jobs where you worked for 2 months. Right,
Yeah,
you know,
that's worse.
so you need to know when you go into it, okay, I gotta give it some time here, and if I'm not gonna enjoy it, if I know from the interview I'm not gonna enjoy it, that's not gonna be a good fit.
When you get done with school and you're ready for that career, and one job offers $14 an hour, and another one offers $15.50, but the $14 an hour job offers you benefits, like health benefits and so on and so forth, those cost you a lot of money. So you don't necessarily have to go for the hourly rate that's highest, or the salary that is the highest. Weigh out, what is that going to cost me, and how much are those benefits really giving to me? So there's a lot involved in that.
Well, and consider things like, how far is the drive? You know, because that costs you money. What is the, what is the dress code? Because that can cost you money. So, weigh out some of those things, and that goes back to the researching the company, getting to know the culture, and getting to know yourself as to what you're comfortable, what do you like, what do you not like.
Yeah, consider the growth potential too. You may
Yeah.
take a job that's $16 an hour, but it's a dead-end job, it's not going anywhere. You're never gonna make more than $1 or $2 more an hour throughout the lifespan of that position. To where you may take a lower starting salary job somewhere else, but it has the opportunity to grow into something that could pay twice as much, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, who knows?
So what did you guys get out of this class? Are you glad you came? Yeah.
Could I say something right along those lines? You have training that you just received in the last 2 weeks that probably 95% of adults in the US do not have. You're in the elite as far as being knowledgeable about going into a job and getting a job. Very few people have this training, so this is a really cool thing. I'd like to kind of congratulate Dot on putting it together and congratulate all of you guys for coming to it, and I hope it pays dividends. I can't imagine it won't, but good luck. Good luck.
And feel free to email questions or if you have them.
I'll get you that list. Who in this class is gonna send me an email right now and remind me to send you the list of speakers? Thank you. All right. So Nick, would you take a picture of our group here today for us? Come on, guys, come
Everybody,
stand up
yeah,
here. Come
everybody.
stand up here. So let's squish in, squish in.
We want the really well-dressed ones. The friends.
Yeah.
So kids.
You guys can stand up.
Oh, thank you, Ranger.
Right here in front of me.
Love it.
There you go.
Great.
Perfect.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Amy here.
I can't be on the back if I'm.
No.
Okay, I got it right here,
Yeah,
okay.
there.
Are you in?
All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
How many tricks, let's see, 1, 2.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you get to go a half hour early because it's your last day. I'm so excited. Nice job.